The feeling of immersion is of utmost importance in virtual reality. The sense of agency is an important component of immersion. The sense of agency can be described as the feeling of being in control. In this study, our goal was to find ways to assess the level of agency experienced by users in a virtual environment. To do so, we used both behavioral and neurophysiological measures using questionnaires and electroencephalography respectively. Thus, we designed and implemented a hardware and software solution which enabled the EEG cap and the VR apparatus to be used simultaneously. The next challenge consisted in manipulating users' sense of agency in a controlled experimental design. To do so, we relied on 3 principles described in the literature. By acting on these principles, we aimed to modulate users' sense of agency. These 3 principles are the priority principle, which states that the feedback must follow the task, the consistency principle, which states that the feedback must be coherent with the actions performed by the user, and the exclusivity principle, which states that nothing must affect the feedback except the actions performed by the user. The following experiment aimed to assess the efficiency with which we were able to modulate users' sense of agency and to determine markers of their sense of agency. During the experiment, participants were asked to perform a series of predetermined hand movements. For each hand movement, users were first shown a video of the movement to be performed on a virtual television screen in the virtual environment. Next, users were asked to perform 6 trials, during each of which they had to perform that movement repeatedly for 8 seconds. At the end of each trial, users rated the extent to which they felt in control on a scale from 1 to 7. In half of these trials, we attempted to modulate the user's sense of agency by acting on the priority principle, the consistency principle, and the exclusivity principle. We call these trials the modulated trials, as opposed to the non-modulated trials. Results suggest that our attempts to manipulate users' sense of agency were successful, since agency ratings were significantly higher for non-modulated trials compared to modulated trials. Furthermore, participants for whom the locus of control was more internal felt more immersed, suggesting that user profile should be taken into account when designing virtual reality applications and environments. Finally, concerning neurophysiological patterns, our results were consistent with literature in revealing stronger activity over the premotor and frontal areas for the non-modulated trials, and stronger activity over the temporoparietal areas in the modulated trials.